All right, we'll get going, right? All right. I'd like to, again, we're here for the public hearing. It is 6:57 for hear the amendment to the Town Code, Chapter 14, Article 2, Section 14-32, fee schedule. Public hearing ground rules. A public hearing will be scheduled to allow interested citizens an opportunity to express their opinions regarding the proposed revisions to the Enfield Town Code, Chapter 14, Building Regulations, Article 2, Building Code, Section 1432, fee schedule. Roll call, please.
Councilor Arnone.
Here.
Councilor Bosco. Here. Councilor Sakala.
Here.
Councilor Casati.
Here.
Councilor Davis.
Here.
Councilor Denny.
Here.
Councilor Falk.
Here.
Mayor Ludwig.
Here.
Councilor Muller.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Suzak.
Here.
Councilor Ungary.
Here.
There's 11 members present, none are absent.
The following notice of public hearing was published in the Hartford Current Friday, December 8, 2017. Town of Enfield legal notice, public hearing. The Enfield Town Council will hold a public hearing in the Enfield Town Hall, Council Chambers, 820 Enfield Street, Enfield, Connecticut, on Monday, December 18th, 2017, at 6:58, to allow interested residents an opportunity to express their opinions regarding the proposed revision to the Enfield Town Code, Chapter 14, Building Regulations, Article 2, Building Code, Section 14-32, fee schedule. Information is available in the Town Clerk's office. Susan F. Olnicki, Town Clerk, dated December 5th, 2017. Announce the ground rules for the public hearing. There is no time limit, but I will ask for each person to not take up too much time so everyone will have an opportunity to speak. After each person who desires has had one chance to speak, I shall permit those individuals who desire a second chance. For those individuals who desire to speak a second time, I shall permit those individuals who desire a third or fourth, etc. Please refrain from personalities. And Brian, I don't know if you want to give a little background before we open it up?
Sure, Mr. Mayor. This legislation is brought forth to update the fee schedule and correct some conflicts with respect to our portions of the building fees and those venues under which we do provide for those fees, and what is now statutorily allowed by the General Assembly. So that's the purpose for this particular amendment.
So welcome everyone. Does anyone desire to speak on this public hearing? Does anyone wish to speak on this public hearing? I'll ask one more time. Does anyone wish to speak on this public hearing? Hearing none, we'll close this public hearing. We are now here to public hearing proposed conveyance of Lot 2 and a portion of Lot 7, intersection of North Main Street. It is 6:59. Public hearing ground rules. A public hearing has been scheduled to allow interested citizens an opportunity to express their opinions regarding the proposed conveyance of Lot 2 and Lot 7 at the southwest corner of the intersection of Enfield Street and North Main Street. Roll call, please.
Councilor Arnone.
Here.
Councilor Bosco.
Here.
Councilor Sakala.
Here.
Councilor Casati.
Here.
Councilor Davis.
Here.
Councilor Denny.
Here.
Councilor Falk.
Here.
Mayor Ludwig.
Here.
Councilor Muller.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Suzak.
Here.
Councilor Ungary.
Here.
There's 11 members present, none are absent.
The following notice of public hearing was published in the Hartford Current Friday, December 8, 2017. Town of Enfield legal notice public hearing. The Town Council will hold a public hearing in the Enfield Town Hall, Council Chambers, 820 Enfield Street, Enfield, Connecticut, on Monday, December 18th, 2017, at 6:59 p.m. to allow interested citizens an opportunity to express their opinions regarding the proposed conveyance of number 2 and Lot number 7 at the southwest corner of the intersection of Enfield Street and North Main Street. Information is available in the Development Services Department. Susan F. Olnicki, Town Clerk, dated December 5th, 2017. The ground rules for the public hearing. There is no limit, but there is no time limit, but I ask that each person not take up too much time so everyone will have an opportunity to speak. After each person who desires has had one chance to speak, I shall permit those individuals who desire a second chance. For those individuals who desire to speak a second time, I shall permit those individuals who desire a third, fourth, etc. Please refrain from personalities. Again, Brian, any background for folks before we open it up?
Sure. This particular legislation is to authorize the conveyance of certain portions of property owned by the town to the owner of, I believe it is 828, the Broyhill property. This is a transaction which enables the current owner to be able to develop that property in a way that we feel most addresses the needs of our community, and in particular this intersection. It takes two pieces of property which are undevelopable and in the town's possession, and transfers them to private ownership. And while the restrictions to develop these properties will remain in place, it does put them on the tax roll with some value. So that will be the ultimate end game of this particular conveyance.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak at this public hearing? Anyone wish to, ma'am? Welcome. Just your name and address for the record, please. Thank you. Welcome.
Karen LaPlante, 166 North Maple Street. Can you hear me all right? It's on?
Yes,
okay.
good.
And I'm the chair of the Conservation Commission. So this is the Conservation Commission comments for the public hearing of tonight on the transfer of these two parcels. The Plan of Conservation and Development is a plan that each town in Connecticut is required to update every 10 years. To quote from the introduction from Enfield's POCD, a plan of conservation and development rationalizes and substantiates a community's planning and zoning regulation, capital improvements, and future provision of public services. The POCD is the basis for adopting or amending zone regulations and should provide clear direction as the community continues to evolve. It should prescribe the highest and best land uses after examining various topics, and should outline the principles for local governance, planning and development, setting strategic targets for achieving the community's goals and objectives. Most importantly, the POCD should show the specific ways in which the town can fulfill its vision for the future. The Conservation Commission would like to point out various items within our POCD that the Town Council should take into account before approving the transfer of this property to a private developer. And I've pointed out specific pages from the document, and if you guys haven't read this, you really should. We have plenty of copies in the planning office. Page 22 discusses Enfield's traditional downtown area as having the potential to be revitalized and transformed into the town's culture and arts district. It mentions the, quote, continuous park-like promenade along Freshwater Brook that spans the width of the area from Enfield Street to the Connecticut River. This promenade and the numerous civic monuments and gathering places near it are the perfect foundation for an urban destination that locals and visitors can enjoy. Page 23 describes the future of this area further, and it quotes, "Streetscape improvements to North Main Street will continue to create a pleasant pathway linking the Culture and Arts campus to the commercial establishments in the Thompsonville Center and the waterfront. Continuing to landscape Freshwater Pond attractively is also crucial to making the area feel like an urban oasis to be enjoyed by all," end quote. It goes on to suggest continual clearing around the sides of the pond and north of the pond along Freshwater Brook to the Route 5 overpass near High Street. Private ownership of the suggested parcels will not allow this to happen. Page 24 discusses the possible greenway connection along Freshwater Brook between, quote, the Central Business District and the Culture and Arts District, the Intermodal Transportation Center, the Connecticut River Greenway, or the town's Central Park and Historic Village, end quote. And it goes on to discuss this strip of forest and wetland should be preserved and developed with trails or boardwalks. Shoppers, store employees, and area residents should be able to access the greenway at various points. Trails should allow people a quick respite from the hustle and bustle of the mall and work, and an option to go for a longer walk or bike ride. During a previous tax sale, the town acquired additional land along Freshwater Brook within the floodplain that not only provides additional area for stormwater management, but natural areas for future trail development that would help connect neighborhoods with adjoining village or shopping districts. Page 29 again mentions the Urban Wetlands Trail and reiterates the idea to create a trail or boardwalk along Freshwater Brook from the Connecticut River, Freshwater Pond and the Central Business District, which is the mall area. How would selling these parcels permit this trail to be continued? Private ownership often stops a plan of this magnitude from being fully implemented. Page 29 talks about scenic overlooks. Enfield roads traverse many beautiful streams that are hidden away from sight. Creating scenic overlooks at key locations will help make streams more prominent natural features of the community. Now, one site mentioned is the pedestrian bridge at High Street and Enfield Street that could connect to a greenway trail along the Freshwater Brook. By selling the rear parcel, a trail could not be continued along Freshwater Brook to the High Street footbridge. Page 32 identifies the intersection of Enfield Street and North Main Street as a community gateway and discusses it as a location that should be considered for improvement, including such amenities that would enhance a visitor's first impression of Enfield and additional signage to guide visitors to the community attractions. Selling this property will restrict access to the existing event sign, prevent any additional Wayfair signage, and restrict any additional amenities that may be installed in the future. Goal 4 states, we will develop in a manner that preserves and enhances the aesthetic, recreational, and ecological values of our natural resources. This proposed transfer does not guarantee this goal will be met, as this section of walkway and the Freshwater Brook will be out of our control once in private ownership. Page 99 discusses the public perception of the town's character. It states, quote, residents see it as a place that is rich in historic, agricultural, and aquatic resources. In fact, for many town residents, Enfield is special because of its location between the Connecticut and the Scannick rivers. Unfortunately, and this is still a quote, unfortunately, the typical Enfield resident also feels that the town does not capitalize on its natural resources, weakening the town's identity as a place where nature and industry coexist harmoniously, end quote. Page 178 and 179 talks about bicycle and pedestrian travel. The plan calls attention to developing land uses that are friendly to bicycles and pedestrians, encouraging developers to consider all forms of access to their sites. There's a table, number 43, that has a bicycle network for all of Enfield, which includes US Route 5 to Main Street and North Main Street to South River Street. As of now, there is not a separate bike lane on North Main Street. If this land is sold, will it be possible in the future to add a bike lane or a bike path, or will we be looking to purchase that land back from the developer? During our last 10 years of road replacement projects, how many easements did the town have to acquire to just repair, replace, or install sidewalks along existing roads because we didn't own enough land, and at what cost? Page 197, trails. The state plan of conservation and development, quote, conceives of trails as a necessary link between built and natural areas and specifically recommends that trails link revitalization areas and main streets to river corridors and greenways and affordable and mixed-income housing areas. The plan encourages communities to create links between them whenever possible. It goes on to discuss pedestrian and bicycle transportation plans, that safety is an important objective, so the plan recommends separating bike lanes from the main roadway when feasible, and allowing enough space and visibility on sidewalks and on paths between buildings to minimize unexpected conflicts between cyclists, pedestrians, and motor vehicles. If the town decides to add a bike path that could be separated from the main roadway at some point in the future, not owning these parcels might require the town to spend additional funds for design, acquisition, and implementation. The Conservation Commission has pointed out the clear vision in the Plan of Conservation and Development that sees the area along Freshwater Brook for pedestrian and bicycle access. It is a vision that connects people that work, live, and play near this area with a great natural resource. An area that will allow pedestrians to take a walk, to observe nature on their way to grab a bite to eat. A place to take a leisurely walk with a friend for a cup of coffee, and even a place to take your children for a walk to observe nature happening right in front of you. The Conservation Commission is not aware of any discussions of the terms of the transfer or any restrictions that will be placed on the developer or the property. Planning and zoning regulations, inland wetland regulations, or other applicable regulations were not reviewed in creating these comments. The above comments relate only to whether the transfer of these parcels would be in conformance with the Plan of Conservation and Development. Our recommendation, the Conservation Commission believes the transfer of these parcels will not be in conformance with the Plan of Conservation and Development and recommends the Town Council vote against the transfer of these parcels to private ownership. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak at this public hearing? Would anyone else like to speak in this public hearing? Anyone else like to speak at this public hearing? I declare the public hearing closed. Now we move on to the regular meeting, Monday, December 18th. Sorry, December 18th, 2017. Prayer, please. Counselor Davis. I'm sorry, Counselor Corsati, apologize.
Lord, please keep all who live in Enfield safe during these holidays. We ask that you grant all of our residents peace in our homes and in our hearts as the world around us spins out of control. Help all who are dealing with loss, addiction, sickness, unemployment, pain, and frustrations of all kinds to find peace in their lives and joy in the hope the new year will bring a fresh beginning and a renewed spirit. Bless our servicemen and women at home and abroad as they strive and risk their lives to make a better life for all of us.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We need to get our agenda and our person coordinated.
Roll call, please, Suzanne.
Counselor Crisati.
Here.
Counselor Davis.
Here.
Counselor Denny.
Here.
Counselor Falk.
Here.
Mayor Ludwig.
Here.
Counselor Muller.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Suzak.
Here.
Counselor Ungary.
Here.
Counselor Arnone.
Here.
Counselor Bosco.
Here.
Counselor Sakala.
Here.
There's 11 members present, none are absent.
Item number 4, fire evacuation announcement. In case of a fire, we ask folks please orderly exit to the back of the building, go down the stairs and go out the doors, or go right out to your left, take your first left, go down the stairs, hook around the stairs, and go right out the sliding doors. Item number 5, minutes of proceeding minutes, special meeting December 4th, 2007. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Counselor Falk, seconded by Counselor Arnone. Do we have any discussion on the minutes? Any amendments or adjustments? Hearing none, by a show of hands, all those in favor? Those opposed, any abstentions? 11-0. Can I have a motion for the regular meeting December 4th?
So moved.
By Counselor Falk, seconded by Counselor Denny. Any discussion on the minutes? Any adjustments? Hearing none, all those in favor with a show of hands? All those opposed, any abstentions? 11-0. Item 6, special guest. Do we have any special guests tonight?
Well, you missed a set of meetings. There's 3 of them there. You only did 2.
I only have
I only have 2.
I only have 2.
Yeah.
Oh, wrong meeting, sorry.
Wrong meeting.
Yeah. Sorry, any special guests?
No, sir.
Item number 7, public communication petitions. We ask folks, when you please come up to talk, that again, first you'll have 5 minutes to talk, and I'll give you a heads up with 30 seconds left. Again, we ask that folks please refrain from personalities, and we welcome all those who would like to speak. I don't know if we need a list, Suzanne, or, okay, we'll just go by show of hands. Gina.
Gina Sullivan, 11 Spear Avenue. Good evening. I'm here tonight to hopefully get a few answers on the latest management decisions regarding the Enfield Adult Day Center. Based on the memo that was sent to me via email and the article in the Journal-Inquirer, it seems that the director of the day center was asked by her supervisor on a couple of occasions to unsubscribe to all non-work-related emails. My first question: do all town employees' emails get monitored this closely? If yes, is it safe to say there are probably many instances of written warnings in personnel files of employees that receive these warnings? I'm pretty sure the director of the Enfield Adult Day Center was not the only employee that has ever used a work email for receipts or shipping notices. I would just like to see confirmation that this rule applies to all employees. And honestly, in my opinion, this is kind of a petty issue to bring up as a first offense, so to speak. On September 5th, 2017, the director of the Enfield Adult Day Center received a written warning for being over budget. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but the budget year ends on June 30th of 2018. So why would someone be written up 2 months into a new budget cycle? And I'm by far not a budget expert, but one would think that budgets could fluctuate throughout a year's time, and that as long as an employee's budget comes in where it should be by the end of the budget cycle, which again, in this case, would be June 30th, 2018, that there wouldn't be an issue. So my second question: why would this employee get written up so soon into a budget year? Was there possibly information on employees that HR did not code correctly into the payroll system? I believe the Director of Social Services was given reasoning behind this issue, and sadly it was ignored. Third question: I would be really interested to know if there were any complaints from the paying clients or the clients' families about the day center staff and the day center director. There seems to be an element missing in all of these disciplinary issues, and that is the human factor. When someone's loved one attends the Enfield Adult Day Center, it becomes like an extended family to the client and the client's family. This program has proven that the director and all the staff treat clients as if they were family. The atmosphere is one of a positive energy, and it shows on all the clients' faces when you visit. If you've never had the experience of being a caregiver for an ailing parent, consider yourself very lucky. Many people are caregivers to spouses, parents, and grandparents, and the Enfield Adult Day Center provides a place where loved ones can go and caregivers can work or get well-needed breaks. Trusting an adult day center is kind of the same as trusting a daycare provider for a child. It's very scary at first, but once you realize what a wonderful job the center does, like a daycare does, it eases your mind and it is a huge relief to the families. Fourth question I have: I've heard that the Director of Social Services will be taking over as the Director of the Day Center. Is this permanent, or until a new person can be hired? What exactly is the Director of Social Services' experience with elder care? Is she an RN? Does she have experience working with elderly with health issues or dementia or Alzheimer's? This type of position is not one for just anyone to do. Compassion and understanding of elder care and all that goes along with geriatric health is a requirement. My fifth question: if the Director of Social Services is doing the job of the Director of the Day Center, who is doing the Director of the Social Services job? I've also heard that the Assistant Director of Social Services is now doing Susan Lather's job at the Senior Center, so how does this all work? The memo I received also talked about changes to transportation as of January 1st at the Day Center. And I believe, again, this was per the Director of Social Services, recommended that a CNA no longer ride on the buses to pick up and drop off the clients. Please think long and hard about this decision. The clients need assistance getting onto the bus and while on the bus. There are things like making sure seatbelts are on, that they stay on. I don't know if you have any experience with anyone with dementia in your life, but some dementia patients can have episodes and get violent or get excited and could get physical with other people. If there isn't an aide on the bus and something like that were to happen, whose responsibility does it become? Does it become the bus driver? I mean, the bus driver is there to provide safe transportation to and from the center and the client's home. So I need my sixth question. I swear that's the last question. What exactly was the thought process around that decision? I will close tonight by saying I totally understand that money is very tight and that budgets need to be looked at more closely now than ever. What I do think needs to be thought about here is the safety of the clients of the day center. Cutting small corners to save a few dollars is not worth compromising the integrity of the Enfield Adult Day Center. The product that Paula, the director, and her entire staff have produced is one that should not be tampered with. Dealing with elderly clients with dementia is not a cut and dry situation. And to try to make it cut and dry, again, leads me to believe that we do not have the right people making these decisions. What looks good on paper does not always work in real life. I'm almost done.
Oh, take your time, go ahead.
I implore all of you to do research on the day center. Please, visit them, see what they do, see how happy the clients are there, even ride the bus in the morning or in the afternoon. Like I said earlier, if you have never experienced this with a loved one, you really don't know what it's all about. If you're going to make these big decisions or cuts, please do it having educated yourself. I think if you take the time to visit and learn more about the day center, it will really open your eyes. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you. Ms. Kilty?
Judy Kilty, is this on? 83 Abbey Road. Before I start, I just have one question that just came up. I know that Nathan Hale has been designated a school so we could avoid repaying the state money that we owe, but at the same time, the town is trying to sell it. Now, I just don't understand how it can belong to the school and belong to the town at the same time. It just doesn't seem right that it could be that way. And if the town owns it, we can't claim it as a school if it's not under the direction of the school board. Just doesn't make sense to me. Okay. I would like to express my concern for the record with the town manager's decision not to immediately fill the position of the director of the senior center. As a member now, I have been so proud of the accreditations and acclamations the center received under the direction of Susan Lather. I understand the Director of Social Services has taken on this position in addition to her own responsibilities, and tonight I find out that she's also taking on the adult daycare position. It seems obvious to me the quality of services can't remain the same unless the position of Director of Social Services should have been a part-time position originally, if she had that much time on her hands. I asked that this position be filled by a full-time employee as it should have been months ago. We as seniors deserve nothing less. We deserve more than a one-third director. We should always be moving forward, and this unfortunate decision, along with the circumstances of Susan Lather's retirement, are nothing short of a step or two backwards. For over 30 years, I've been standing up and fighting for my kids' education, now for my grandkids' education. Now that I'm officially a senior citizen, it feels nothing less than insulting that I need to stand up once again because of short-sighted decisions and detrimental long-term consequences. Please take action and fill this position immediately.
Thank you. Thank you. Sir?
Evening. All right, my name's Art Cody. I'm the president of Friends of the Enfield Senior Center. Our address is Enfield Senior Center, 299 Elm Street, Enfield, Connecticut. My personal address is 103 Middle Road, Enfield, Connecticut. This is a memo which I'll send to your email, so you don't have to memorize this. If you want to take a nap or whatever, do what you need to do. Okay, it says, my name is Arthur Cody. I'm the president of Friends of Enfield Senior Center. I have come looking for some guidance as to what the town's plans are for the senior center at this time. The Friends of the Enfield Senior Center is a 501c3 organization. This organization is recognized by both the state and federal government. The sole purpose, and this is in quotes, is to provide and allocate financial resources to the Enfield Senior Center not provided by the town of Enfield. So that's why it's important for us to know what's going on to it. My concerns are as follows. The position of director of the Enfield Senior Center has gone unfilled for at least 6 months. We have been told that the job description is being rewritten. I'm interested in knowing when this project is going to be completed and at what level of authority will the individual hold. Second, I've been told that there are plans being developed that the library, the recreation department, and the senior center will be placed under a new Department of Leisure. Is this a new constellation? Is this new constellation of a department meant to diminish the services of the senior center in any way, and what safeguards are being put in place so it is not diminished? 3, I have noted that the head of the Department of Social Service and the assistant head of the same department now occupy offices in the senior center. Is this a sign that the senior center is being evolved into a community center with a de-emphasis on the building being used by the seniors? The building was funded through a townwide referendum on November 2nd, 1999 to be built and used as a senior center. At the time, $4,300,000 was appropriated for that purpose. 4, I also note that a change in the arrangement of the departments was not discussed in the most recent election. Is any change on the status of the current senior center going to be outlined to the public with an opportunity for the public to provide feedback before any changes are done? Okay. The third page isn't as long, so don't worry about it.
Still got over 2 minutes. You're doing great.
Okay, good. I have recently read that the town is facing financial difficulties due to the state budget issues, which is something the town has no control over. I find it's interesting that the current temporary management of the senior center has not come to the Friends of the Enfield Senior Center for help dealing with the issues that our bylaws and articles of incorporation might allow us to be helpful with. The management has made it clear that her goal is to drive the Friends out of the senior center. She has taken the following steps. A, it is my understanding that employees and volunteers have been ordered not to cooperate or communicate with members of the Friends of the Enfield Senior Center. B, our donation envelopes have been confiscated and are not available to the public. C, our reference has been removed from the senior center website, the Town of Enfield website and the senior center website. Our financial records have been moved. This is really gets you going. Our financial records have been moved without notification, and their whereabouts have not been communicated to any members of the Friends of the Enfield Senior Center. Now, I don't know how many people run businesses, but we are not huge, but we are responsible. My name goes on paperwork, and if I have to put my name on paperwork, I want the documentation to support it. The movement of financial records really, even as a simple courtesy, is something that the people should be notified of. Let's see, especially if my name's going on it. And I'm not going to jail because someone wants to do a house cleaning somewhere. Our name has been removed from our mailbox at the senior center. Our little 2 by 12 inch by 9 inch deep mailbox, name's been removed. We don't exist anymore there. The Friends have also been asked to change our address. This is an address that's been recognized by our donors, banks, the state government, and the federal government, and until recently by the town. We even have offered to install at our expense a mailbox of our own so the town would not have to be burdened with carrying mail from the front desk to the mailbox in the back. That was rejected. Rejecting small projects rejecting small projects like replacing the failing benches outside the main entrance have been rejected. This is something that we've done at our expense. The purchase of the benches, the installation of the benches, the installation of the mailbox, Just rejected.
You-
H,
sir,
misinform
30
the public that
30 second.
donations given directly to the senior center are
Sir,
the
30,
same.
30
Yeah.
second warning. 30-second
30
warning.
seconds, oh. Okay, misdirecting the public that donations given directly to senior center are the same as donations given to the Friends. This isn't true. Donations given to the senior center go to the general town budget. They don't go to the senior center. The next year, that may be developed in the budget, but the money goes to the town budget. Money given to us goes straight to the senior center. That's all we can ever spend it on. It's unfortunate, as I reviewed our financial, our financial.
Go ahead, wrap up. Wrap up,
Okay,
yep.
we have provided $460,000 in goods and services to the senior center. Steps are being taken by the Friends to drive the Friends out of the senior center. It's the same across all town. Oh, are these steps being taken across the town? Are these steps that are required or throwing us out, are they done in the school system? And the reason I bring up the school system, because the policy that has been given to me is a policy that was drawn up for the use of facilities in both the school and town. So my concern is this a selection of enforcement? You know, just to move us. And I suppose my 20 seconds is up. I will provide a copy here. I'm going to email you all, like I said, so keep your night short. If you have any questions, let me know. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Ma'am.
You want to read the last paragraphs? Oh, she gets to read the last one. The grammar school, so we'll live it up.
How you doing? Welcome.
I'm doing good. It's good to see all of you. My name is Roberta Ladd, and we recently moved from School Street to 10 Carlisle Street. And I'm going to make this short. I'm sure you do not want to stay here till 12 o'clock. I support everything that Art and Gina and Judy have said. This has been ongoing. We have been working on this since June without any answers or without any politeness to our organization. We understand about the budget. We have worked in many fields. Our group, I am the vice president of the Friends of the Enfield Senior Center. Our group has come forward from many fields, and we're all staunch supporters of the town of Enfield and are trying to remain so. We are entitled to basic human courtesy, which we have not been receiving. We understand about the budget. We truly understand that this is not your fault or your fault, and we're here to work with you together, which is the only way we're going to ever get through this. We think that to kick a gift horse in the mouth in the name of an organization that has given this town almost $500,000 in stuff that you have not had to pay for deserves a thank you and common courtesy. Our legal address is the senior center. We should be entitled to a tiny little slot to receive our donations. Our money truly does stay in the senior center, and seniors who donate in honor of their loved ones are misled when they are saying that it goes to the town, because that money does not always stay in the senior center but goes back to the town budget. When you donate to the Friends of the Enfield Senior Center, every single penny of it, we even pay for our own Christmas party dinners, every single penny of it goes to buy things that the town does not have to pay for, which is always a good thing, a win-win for the town and a win-win for the seniors. It's especially a win-win in this budget crisis. We ask for your support, we ask for our mailbox back, and we ask for politeness. I now am going to read Arthur's last paragraph. It is important for the members of the Friends of the Enfield Senior Center to know if the Senior Center is going to survive and at what level. The rationale for the organization that I represent is to support the Enfield Senior Center. However, if the Enfield Senior Center is not going to exist, then the purpose for my organization will not exist, and the financial responsibilities will have to be planned out. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak for the council? Ma'am? Welcome.
Hi.
How you doing?
Good. I'm not here for budgets or nothing like that. I'm Darlene Gallagher. I live at 16 Russell. I just retired in September of this year. I've been working with the town for 34 and a half years, at the day center mostly, as soon as it opened up. When I retired, I told everybody there I'd be back to see them again. Well, when I went to go back to see them again, I was told by the director of social services that I couldn't. I had to give them at least 2 years so they could get not to know me any longer. That's not my point. I would like to go visit them. That's all I want to do. And I talked to the director, I talked to the town manager, and they told me just to enjoy my retirement. Well, as my retirement, that's what I would like to do too, is just to go back to see all my clients. That's what I'm here for, to see if I can go back, just to visit. So it's up, I'm hoping it's up to you to come to the conclusion that I can. That's all I want to do.
Anyone else like to speak for the council? No, ma'am, first time.
Joanne Alphonse, 1221 Enfield Street, apartment number 3, Enfield, Connecticut. I've also been working for the town of Enfield Adult Day Center for 16 years. My heart breaks for Darlene, hugely. She just wanted to come in and call bingo. Call bingo. 1 hour. Just to see her friends. I mean, having an extra set of eyes in an adult day center is huge. I just don't understand why a person can be blackmailed to go back to where they worked for 30 years for the town. That makes no sense to me. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak for the first time? For the second time? Ms. Kilty?
Judy Kilty, 83 Abbey Road. This is tonight, I'm just hearing about the Friends of the Senior Center. This is horrible. You are new people. We had bad things in the past, and the goal was to work together for a better town. This is horrible. It's embarrassing, and I cannot believe that you people will sit here and allow this to happen. I think action needs to happen tonight. This is unacceptable.
Thank you. Anyone else for the second time? Anyone else for the first time? Move public communications be closed. Item 8, councilor communications. Councilman Bosco.
Okay, through the mayor to the town manager. I remember, and this is probably one of the reasons why I ran this last term, is to have some memory. We went through this about 8 years ago. And we were going to cut funding to the adult daycare center. We were going to cut funding to the child development, and we were going to cut funding to the senior center. And we all worked together, and the adult days, or the child development center came up with a plan, and they saved all their programs. The senior center, through the Friends, came up with a plan, and that's what that Friends of the Senior Center was, is to save the senior center. So you need to go back in the files about 8 years ago, and there you'll find a discussion on all three things that I said. And the council at that time clearly stated that we were going to save the things and not do the cuts with the help of the Friends and the senior center staff themselves. They saved their own senior center. We did not have to come up with funding because we weren't going to buy gym equipment and stuff like that. That's what they were there for. So that is something that was discussed and promised to them about 8 years ago. And I can understand we have all new people here. And a lot of them, their memories don't go, they just weren't here when all this was going on. And that was the only reason why I ran this last term, is because I knew something like this would come up and you needed someone that had a little background on what happened and why and about when. So the Friends of the Senior Center, you should be able to find things there that should follow up, and so we can restore them back to where they were. If there's something legally we can't do, then we need to come in and you need to inform us so we know how to make it work, because that was the only way they kept their doors open as long as they did. Snow removal. I was in Florida, and I was getting phone calls from my record drivers on how busy they were with the snow. I'd like to know what time DPW was called out, what time they dropped the plow, when they started sanding, because there should have never been so many accidents as there were Friday night. So I'd like to get the itinerary that we had from DPW for that night. The lamp is burned out, or it's not burned out, has not been replaced underneath the bridge at from 91 at the Post Office Road. It's still got the yellow light on there. Adult Day Center. That was another one, and in the minutes you probably will laugh. Everyone started laughing at me because we figured out a way, and I was the one that voted, and I was the vote that kept all the funding there. And I told everyone at that point there, that was a Democrat in me, and we got a chuckle out of there. So I know what was supposed to be done there, and that was supposed to be taken care of, and they did a lot of things there for funding and stuff so they could increase their people so they could be self-sufficient. I don't feel, and I don't know, and this is really the first I heard of a lot of this thing, I don't feel we should be sending a bus out without a nurse on it. I'm sorry, someone falls down and gets hurt. I think the liability issues will be a hell of a lot more than having someone there that cost. Now, on the other hand, it needs to be self-sufficient, and that was one thing that I said when we saved it the last time, that they have to do something. So, I mean, it may be something, again, that we need to set down and figure out how we're going to pay this for this extra thing, because, you know, we can only afford so much money. So there may be another way of, we can't answer that way. But, you know, you guys need to just put your head together and figure out where we're going to come up with this money to do it. I would like to see in writing where it states what our volunteer qualifications are, what we need to be a volunteer. So last I knew, anyone could volunteer for everything. And, you know, my cousin told me about this, and I said, that ain't true. I can't believe we're not allowing someone to come in to volunteer. I mean, that sounds asinine, and pardon my language. But I want to know why. If there's a real reason for it, that's all we need to know at this point here. You got to give someone a valid reason, not because you're going to upset the people that are coming. And, you know, that very well may happen. And if she goes there and the people are upset, then really at that point there, I'm sure if she sees the people and they're crying because she's leaving, as a volunteer, at that point there, she should be asked, look, please save the residents the heartbreak. But if there's not a problem, that's what we do volunteer. So that's my rant. And I'd like you to look into this stuff for me, and we'll see where it goes. But your voices are heard.
I think you meant to say the word unacceptable, I think was the correct word you're looking to say.
What's that?
Unacceptable, huh?
Unacceptable.
All set?
Yes.
Councilor Arnone.
So this two issues that we heard tonight have really been festering in the community for a while now. And it's a customer service issue to me, far and foremost, that I'm hearing from people right now. And if this was private corporation and this many people came up complaining about a service, something would get done on it. Friends of the Library, I've heard also Leo, the Lions Club, I've heard quite a few nonprofit complaints also. You know, and these nonprofits are formed to reduce the burden of government. They help us help each and every department be the best they possibly can. And this is, you know, I wonder what we can do, and maybe we need to get more involved in the day-to-days down there. We need to talk more to residents at senior center, at adult daycare center. You know, we need a mediator at this point. We need somebody that can go in and mediate between the two sides, because this is it's to the point now where there's absolutely no return. Both sides have built walls up, and that's not going to help our community at all. We really need to get in there, and if it takes a committee of our own to sit down with both sides, both parties, and find a resolution to this that's applicable to both, it's what we need to do. And again, I see it as a customer service issue, and we need to be better at that. Thank you.
Councilor Sakala, then Councilor Falk.
Thank you. Just to echo a couple of comments. One, through the mayor to the town manager, I would like answers to Mr. Cody's questions once we get his memo. I think you had like 6 questions regarding the Friends of the Senior Center. Troubling, to say the least, some of the things that have been happening. So, like the written answers, if we need to have a meeting between the town manager and the Friends of the Senior Center, let me know. I'll be there if you need me to be there. 2, regarding Miss Gallagher, if we can figure out why she's not allowed back, if we need to talk about that offline, but I'm with Joey. We need to figure out why in the world she's not allowed to go back. If it is a safety or a health issue of the residents, then that's one thing we should talk about. If it's a personality clash, that's ridiculous, asinine, if you will. Lastly, you speak my language, Joey. Lastly, Rachel's Challenge put on a great pancake breakfast on Saturday. Santa was there. It was wonderful. Pancakes were great. Music was great. The raffle was wonderful. And don't all be jealous. I went home with a massive pink stuffed Pegasus that's sitting in my living room. But it was a good time. Thanks.
Councilor Falk.
I agree with everything that's been said. I think we need to break down whatever walls there happen to be out there that's creating some of these problems and get down to some one-on-one conversations where we can find out exactly what the issues are and what we can do to resolve them. I won't beat the dead horse, but that's the direction we need to go in. Saturday was Wreaths Across America at St. Patrick's Cemetery. Very moving ceremony and very well done. I know Lori Gates was part of that. She always does an excellent job, and I just can't thank her enough. And then at the Parkman School on Wednesday, they had the trucks come in with the wreaths on them from Walmart trucks, and I was standing in front of the building when they came in, and the kids were all yelling and screaming with their flags, yay, rah, rah. And, the truck drivers were so impressed by these little kids. They get out of their trucks with their video cameras, and they're walking down taking pictures of all these kids. That's how inspirational this was, not only for the kids, but for the drivers, too. And then they had a beautiful ceremony inside, and it was just, heartwarming to see the kids singing songs, patriotic songs, and it just kind of want to make you melt. It was like a melting pot. You know, I've never realized the diversity we have in our schools, but, you know, little girls, little boys, black, white, Puerto Rican, whatever. They were all together. They were all singing in unity, and it was just such a great ceremony. Anyway, thank you. Oh, one more thing.
So, go ahead, you still have the
One
floor.
more question. You to the manager. On election day, I was over at Enfield Street School, and when the sun went down, the sidewalk was pitch black. When you replaced the lights in the parking lot from these orange things that radiated light everywhere to the LED lights, which are very focused, they don't shine on the sidewalk. It was pitch black. So if you could look into that, I'd appreciate it. Yeah, I got some stuff for the special committees.
Okay.
Bring it up later.
Councilor Crissati.
I'd like to thank everybody that came up and spoke today in regards to the Enfield Adult Daycare Center and the Senior Center. As everybody had stated before up here, you hear the stories, you don't. I've heard many stories of what was going on, or like as Mr. Cody stated, Department of Leisure. I think the bottom line that we have to come up with here is communication amongst everybody as to actually what's going on with the budget. And before, you know, we get this mass hysteria, so to say, as to what's going on. In regards to you volunteering for bingo, to being told that you can't go and call bingo is like, that's unbelievable. We will get to the end of that. But communication has to be, you know, by both sides. Everybody have to communicate with all these issues that are going on. Our Enfield Adult Daycare Center and Senior Center, two of the most important, are friends of the library and friends of the Senior Center. All very important. All going to, you know, we're going to listen to this. And your voices have been heard tonight, and there will be some action taken. I also want to mention, as to what Gina had mentioned about the Rachel's Challenge breakfast. 466 breakfasts were served. What a outstanding event. Raised over $1,000 that was given to the Enfield Food Shelf and to Loaves and Fishes. You know, hats off to that organization. It was a great event. And the other events with the Wreaths Across America, you know, to be involved with that, to lay a wreath, you know, at Enfield Street School, honoring the veterans, you know, past and present. Very moving. And I do have one other thing I have to mention. The boilers over at JFK. I don't know if it was brought to your attention, but it was definitely brought to my attention today. Only one boiler operating over at that school. Temperature in part of the buildings were 50 to 55 degrees. So hopefully there's heat over there tomorrow. Okay? The big issue over there. Okay? Thank you.
Councilor Davis.
Thank you. First off, I want to thank everybody that came out tonight and everybody that came and spoke. We're listening to you, and it means a lot that you do take the time out of your busy schedule in life to come to us, and we really appreciate that. Through the mayor to town manager on all Gina's questions, I think there was probably 8 of them. Can we make sure that we have answers to those, since they were great, especially the one of saying, are you monitoring every single employee on their emails? Because I think that's like 4 full-time jobs. Positions would need to do that, but get an answer for Judy on explanation of how the town's involved with the Nathan Hale building, trying to find, you know, a buyer or somebody for it when actually the Board of Ed never actually released it to the town like they did Fermi. So if we could get an answer on that. And with Art and actually with Roberta, both with the Friends of the Senior Center, it's really heartbreaking to find out that at 6 months they've been asking for answers, and for 6 months we have disrespected them and have not answered them. I know a month ago, I even asked why was the Friends of the Senior donation envelopes removed. So I asked that in an email, then publicly asked it, and then I was kind of given we need a legal review. The question would have been, why would we remove them before you had a legal review, and why would you need a legal review? I mean, why would we even, I thought it was $300-something thousand. I'm overwhelmed that it's $460, almost $500,000, what you all have done for our senior center. Thank you. I applaud you guys. Thank you. So, no, but you guys are leading the way. You're sitting there. Our community trusts you, our residents do. Our seniors are, you know, a giant population in our town. And you know what? People that don't or want to cut it or anything, you might not realize we're all going to be seniors one day. So you're going to be treated the same way. So we might as well start treating our seniors in our community and around the country with the respect that they have earned. So when we get there, we kind of get respected too. Otherwise, we're just going to be left in a chair and left alone. With Darlene, you know, 34 and a half years, thank you for your service to our town. Thank you very much. That is some true dedication. And another thing that's very heartbreaking that you can't come back and see. And with Joanne, so these two kind of go together. Thank you for your 16 years. And thank you for coming here tonight and using your voice, you know, because that means a real lot. So to go with both of you, I was there Friday for the retirement. I wouldn't call it so much that, but I watched the residents there, and I watched them with you. And they weren't upset when you left, but I'll tell you, I was standing there, and I was at all that their faces were excited. If you guys saw it, they were so excited to see you because you came back through that door. And it kind of almost brought like tears to my eyes to just see how happy they were looking over. And I know to you, because I was up by you, it was hurting you, you know, because you really wanted to still be a part of that and you want to go back and volunteer. And kind of like Joe and everybody said, you know, what is the volunteer? We volunteer in schools. We volunteer all around our town. What is our policy? Because I'll tell you, standing there and watching how the residents there reacted when they actually saw her was amazing and very heartfelt. They truly enjoy having her around, and it made them feel very at ease and comfortable. So for her to want to continue after all these years to come back and call bingo, I mean, we should be jumping at that chance. She's experienced, she's already dedicated, and we don't even have to pay her. You're going to volunteer your time. I mean, that's another thing that saves, since we're in such a hard financial crisis. You're even saving us more money there, so thank you again. Another one through the mayor to town manager. If we can check on HMS, I believe the kindergarten classroom was reading temperature, almost like you were saying with JFK in the 50s. These are 5-year-old kids, and we need to make sure we have heat in these schools. And then I echo everybody on the Rachel Challenge. The Reese Cross Miracle was extremely touching. Before I went to the ceremony, I stood outside JFK School where you had 1,200 kids come out cheering them as they're coming by. I went live on Facebook so everybody can see it. But these are 12, 13-year-old kids, and the respect they're already being taught to show. And it was very emotional, especially, you know, for me to stand there and see it. And then the whole ceremony that the kids and staff put on at Parkman was extremely touching. And them chanting USA, and they got, you know, little kids there, and they were pretty loud chanting that USA. So that was great, which was recorded, but I didn't put that one on social media. And then the amount they raised at the pancake breakfast, but also a few weeks back, Rachel Challenge of JFK showed up at the Board of Ed and donated $1,100 to our food shelf that they raised from the turkey trot and everything. So that's additional $1,000 that our young kids are raising to help out our community. And that's what Enfield is. We're not just a town, we're a community. You know, we got each other's backs, we help one another, and, you know, we'll continue to do that. So please, when you guys have a concern, please let us know, because you will be heard, and we're just not going to look the other way. We all live here, and we all love Enfield. So thank you.
Councilor Denny?
You know I all have your back. I was instrumental in having you all come here tonight. I think at some point in time, maybe we need to have some personnel changes. I can't dictate the personnel changes, but we're going to look into some of those things too, because I think this is a shamble, as far as the senior center is concerned, any adult day. Years ago, we had problems with adult daycare center where the numbers were down. Well, if you know anything about adults and people who go to the adult daycare, it's a revolving door. We don't like what happens when they leave there, but that's the way it is. It's been self-supporting for years. The town had sat down prior to this new management with the old town manager, and we fixed all those problems that were over there because that building is not owned by the town, it's owned by the housing authority. I put my sunglasses on to shade everything from what's been happening because it's a shame, a shambles, and it has been. I won't go into the personal problems that I've had over there myself, but in spite of being a councilman, I'm a taxpayer and a senior citizen of this town. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm sorry. Councilor Ungar?
Okay. I wanted to thank you all for coming out. I respect what you're saying. I feel your compassion and your deep concern for this. You have some real questions that really need some real answers, and I agree with my colleagues that are up here that will, personally, I'd like to look into this for you. On another note, I'm the liaison to the Network Against Domestic Abuse, and I stopped by and saw them this week, and they've given me some calendars to pass out. So if you could take one and pass it, and any extras that you have down there, if you want to hold on to them for me. The Domestic Violence Center, they're the primary resource in North Central Connecticut for violence prevention and education services. I met with Yogini and Deb and Kathy, and they were very informative and love what they do. So through the mayor to the town manager, I was wondering if in January we could put Kathy Bannon on the agenda, and she could come in and just give us a brief summary of what they're doing and the services that they offer over there. I'm also the liaison for public safety and got a tour of the police department, and I'm hoping I made a few friends over there. It was very informative and interesting. I attended the Wreaths Across America, the program that they had over at Parkman, and it was just so heartwarming and touching, and to hear all those children's voices singing, it was just amazing. They just did a great job. I especially thought it was very thoughtful to pay tribute to the Gold Star families that are from Enfield. It was just very, very special. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Suzak.
I have a little housework here. I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules and move items E, G, I, J, K, and M to consent and proceed to a vote.
You have a motion? Motion by Deputy Mayor Suzak, seconded by Councilor Falk. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Show of hands. All those opposed, against?
I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules and move items A1, F, H, L, and O to miscellaneous and proceed to vote.
Is there a second? Seconded by Councilor, motion made by Deputy Mayor Suzak, seconded by Councilor Falk. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Those opposed? 10 in favor, 0 against. You have the floor. All set. Councilor Falk?
I was reminded by a constituent that the Wreaths Across America was also co-chaired by Kelly Davis. And the ceremony on Saturday was also involved the Daughters of the American Revolution. So between the three of them, they did an excellent job. Went off smoothly, and I think it was very impressive.
In closing, I'll just be, I know most folks talked about a lot of things tonight, so I don't want to rehash everything, but again, I know this is a great time of year, but there's also some folks who may be dealing with some stuff, you know, through loss of a family member, a loved one, or just in general, maybe having some depression. There's a blues service on December 23rd, Saturday night, at our Friends Over United Methodist Church, 41 Brainerd Road. All those are welcome. I was too at the pancake breakfast. It was a great event. I mean, it's great to see both board members and council folks along with our partners from the school system. I mean, the principals did a great job cooking all day long. It's one of my favorite events, and I think everyone had fun. You know, the Wreaths Across America, I think if you can see kids, you want to talk about how we honor veterans. when we have the next generation singing America the Beautiful and doing such a fantastic job. If you're not moved by that, no matter what you believe in, then I think, maybe, it was just a great event. The driver, who was from Florida, actually went around. You want to talk about how smart our kids are? He wanted to high five everyone, and all the kids moved right in the middle because they knew they could high five them. So it was, again, just another example of how well our schools are doing. Miss Roman, the principal, Amy, and I apologize if I ruined her name, Guzzi is the third grade teacher, did a great job hosting. Lori Gates, of course, organizing everything. And I just want to honor two folks because they were at both ceremonies, Wednesday and Saturday. Our two young folks from the Enfield High Band, Megan Connery and Sean Cooney, who do such a fantastic job playing taps. I mean, they did both, and it's just, they donate their time there as well. Also, I want to just thank Jiggy's Cafe for donating over 100 bikes for Toys for Tots. They also donated 100 to Enfield and also 100 to Springfield. So again, as we work with our neighbors from the north, it's great to see that they were also donated 100 bikes to Springfield, which is great. All the folks, Officer Mike, and I apologize, all the officers involved. It's a great program. I want to also recognize Lori Boudreau, who actually is raised toys, and all the folks who donate toys this time of year for kids in need. So it just goes to show you all the, again, Enfield certainly volunteers, Enfield donates. That's what makes this town great. And I just want to, on behalf of the council, wish everyone a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Town manager report, item 9.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You have included in your packet the project and activities report. I'll be more than happy to answer any questions or concerns that council may have regarding the information contained in the report.
Question for the town manager? I guess you're off the hook.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry. Oh, Councilor Denny.
Just thank you for whoever was responsible for fixing the two manholes on Brainerd Road. And again, and I think Joey mentioned it tonight also earlier, for some reason Freshwater Boulevard and Phoenix Avenue, the lights have been going dead or dark on those two areas, and I haven't got an answer back, and neither has he. I just wanted to mention that, somebody to look into it. Thank you.
Sure. Just with respect to those two comments, I do know that the lights over on Phoenix, and I apologize if I did not forward it out, but there's a wiring issue that continues to cause certain portions of the system to short out. In the Phoenix, I do not have a response back yet from Public Works, but that is out there. So if I did not forward you the reply on Freshwater, my apologies, but we did have that, and I am still waiting on a response about Phoenix. And as soon as I have that, I'll get that out to you.
Any other questions? Hearing none, item 10, town attorney report.
I do have a matter to report, but it would make more sense to wait. There's a settlement of a matter that's under new business at 13F, so I'll reserve my comments then and make it so it will be in context.
Okay. Item 11, any reports of our special committees?
Yeah.
Councilor Falk.
I was at the Prison Liaison Committee meeting last week, and the warden from Enfield was there. That's the one that's closing. And I asked the question, how many prisoners are there? And he threw out a number of, he threw out a number of 700. So they're going to be relocating 700. And I asked, of that 700, how many do you think will stay in Enfield? And he said about half. 350, 400 will be redistributed with the other prisons in Enfield. So the population, the Enfield prison population will drop by maybe 300. I don't know what impact that'll have on us, but now you know. I also went to the CROG meeting. Let me just highlight some of the draft legislative agenda items that they threw out. CROG supports the locks box for transportation. They're pushing for the passenger rail system between New Haven and Springfield, trying to get those stations implemented, including the one here in Enfield. They're even talking about a rail connection between Springfield and Worcester on its way to Boston. Connecticut Fast Track to Bradley Airport. They're talking about the viaduct of I-84. I'm either talking about going under Hartford, but it's an item that it's on their discussion list. They talk about expanding shared services, technology, police, fire, EMS, Homeland Security, a whole variety of things that they're talking about under regionalization, and I think it's going to go a long time before we resolve those issues. Economic environment with vitality. They're pushing to keep the pilot money for state-owned property that we don't get sales or property tax on. Again, brownfield cleanup and remediation. Advanced sustainability, and that talks again about regionalization, conservation projects, microgrids, and so on and so forth. Education, school-town service integration, meaning that the closer collaboration and integration of school and town administrative functions. I think we've done some of that, but there may be opportunities to do more. Special education funding, they would like to see the state assume the whole cost for that. I don't think that's going to happen, but we're fighting for it. And let's see. That's about it. Thank you.
Anyone else have any reports for subcommittee? None? Item 12, old business. Anything on items 1 or 2 on page 1? Items 3 through 16 on page 2.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
I would like to nominate number 8, Commission on Aging. I'd like to put forward a nomination.
You have to make a motion to remove from the
I'd
table.
like to make a motion to remove from the table.
Motion by Councilor Arnone, seconded by Councilor Sakala. We have a motion to remove from the table. We know we have to have a discussion on that, right? No discussion. Motion to remove from the table. All those in favor? By a voice, hand vote? All those opposed? Motion passes. So go ahead, Tom.
I'd like to nominate Marcy Talicio.
Second.
Motion made by Councilor Arnone, seconded by Councilor Sakala. Is there any other nominations? Any other nominations? Move for nominations be closed.
Second.
Made by Councilor Denny, seconded by Councilor Crissati. All those in favor by a show of hands? All those in favor? Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Councilor Crissati.
Yes.
Councilor Davis.
4.
Councilor Denny.
4.
Councilor Falk.
Against?
Mayor Ludwig.
Abstain.
Councilor Muller.
Against.
Deputy Mayor Suzak.
Against?
Councilor Ungary.
Against?
Councilor Arnone.
4.
And Councilor Bosco.
Against.
Councilor Sakala.
4.
We have 1, 2, 3, 4 in favor. 5, 1, no, I'm sorry. I have to do the against. 1, 2, 3, 4. 5 against and 1 abstention. I have clarification.
Go ahead, point of order.
Can I get a clarification? This would be for, this vote we just took was for a 1-week appointment, according to our,
Expiration date?
So it says till 12/31/17.
Any other nominations from 9 through 16 on page 2? On 17 through 30 on page 3? We have no? Item 18? We're going to, for the ethics? Do we have a motion to remove item 18 from the table?
So moved.
By Councilor Falk, seconded by Deputy Mayor Suzak. Any discussion? All those in favor by a show of hands? By a show of hands? All those against? We have, are you folks for or against? Raise your hand. Number item 18, all those in favor, please by a show of hands. All those against? Any abstention? Looks like we have 11 for, 0 against. Do we have a nomination for the Ethics Commission?
I'll nominate Carl Swenson.
Swenson. I have a nomination of Carl Swenson. Do I have a second? Second by Counselor Muller. Any other nominations?
Motion to close?
Motion to close nominations by
Second.
Deputy Mayor Suzak, seconded by Counselor Falk. All those in favor, by show of hands. All those against? Have 11 in favor, 0 against. Roll call, please. I'm sorry, discussion on the motion. Go ahead, sorry. Yeah, Counselor Sakala.
Discussion on the nomination.
Yeah.
So this is for the Ethics Commission. I have looked at the application like I look at all of the applications. And although I appreciate Mr. Swenson's application, he's got no qualifications. So perhaps we should find people who are qualified for these, like Marcy was.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Counselor Crisati.
No.
Counselor Davis.
Against.
Counselor Denny.
Against.
Counselor Falk.
4.
Mayor Ludwig.
4.
Counselor Muller.
4.
Deputy Mayor Suzak.
4.
Counselor Ungary. 4. Counselor Arnone.
Against.
Counselor Bosco.
4.
Counselor Sakala.
Against.
There are 6 in favor and 5 against, no abstentions.
Any other motions for on page 2? Someone?
Inland wetlands?
Yeah.
21?
So, motion to remove 21 from the table.
Correct.
Motion
to remove.
Motion by Deputy Mayor Suzak, seconded by Counselor Falk. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Those against? We have 11 in favor, 0 against. Do we have a nomination for item 21, inland and wetlands?
I'd like to nominate Marie Prisner.
We have a nomination of Marie Prisner, seconded by Counselor Falk. Do we
Motion to
have-
close nominations.
Motion by Counselor Falk to close nominations. Is there a second? Seconded by Counselor Muller. Any discussion? All those in favor? Those opposed?
Discussion.
Want discussion on it? We haven't got to the main discussion. That was just to close nominations, just to close nominations. Motion to close nominations? All those in favor? All those against? 11 in favor, 0 against. Now, discussion on the main motion. Counselor Denny.
Discussion on the main motion. Nothing personal here, and I'll save you time on the next nomination also. But inland wetlands. I know I don't know much about inland wetlands, so I wouldn't be putting myself on these committees. But one says lifelong resident, and the other one has a 10 Hartford Avenue address. Those are their qualifications. But that said, if you've run for town council and you have an R or you belong on the Republican town committee, that's your qualifications. Thank you.
Anyone else? Counselor Sakala?
Again, I actually don't know Marie Prisner, which is fine, but I would love to see her application done. If she's qualified, I have no problem with her being on there. But when we give people applications to fill out, because we do need people for these commissions. So I appreciate anybody who puts their name in, because I believe actually even the Joint Facilities Committee begged us for 15 minutes the other night for people on their committee, and they've shot down D's for that one too. But so if Marie would like to redo her application and have her qualifications be more than she's a lifelong resident, that would be great.
Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Counselor Crisati.
Against.
Counselor Davis.
Against.
Counselor Denny.
Against.
Counselor Falk.
4.
Mayor Ludwig.
4.
Counselor Muller.
4.
Counselor Deputy Mayor Suzak.
4.
Counselor Ungary.
4.
Counselor Arnone.
Against.
Counselor Bosco.
Joey.
4.
Counselor Sakala.
Against.
There's 6 in favor, 5 against, and no abstentions.
Item 22.
Item 22, do we have a motion removed from the table?
So moved.
By Counselor Falk, seconded by Deputy Mayor Suzak. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor remove from the table. Those against? We have 11 in favor, 0 against. Do we have a nomination?
I'd like to nominate Kelly Hemler.
Motion by Counselor Falk. Seconded by Counselor Muller. Motion to close nominations by Deputy Mayor Suzak. Seconded by Counselor Falk. All those in favor, by show of hands. Those against, we have 11 and 0 to close nominations. Any discussion on the motion? Counselor Suzak? I'm sorry, Counselor Sakala, apologize. I went the other way this time.
Oh, that's fine.
Yeah.
So again, Inlands and Wetlands is a pretty significant and important commission, so I appreciate Kelly putting her name in. Again, I find it a little disheartening that we're going to get 6 yeses on the Rs, considering her application just says her qualifications are that she lives in Enfield. So, listen, we want people who are qualified for these commissions and committees. That's great. And if Kelly is, I'd love to see her application reflect that.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Counselor Crisati.
Against.
Counselor Davis.
Against.
Counselor Denny.
Against.
Counselor Falk.
4.
Mayor Ludwig.
4.
Counselor Muller.
4.
Deputy Mayor Suzak.
4.
Counselor Ungary. 4. Counselor Arnone.
Against.
Counselor Bosco. 4. Counselor Sakala.
Against.
There's 6 in favor, 5 against, and no abstentions.
Any, sorry, what number is that? Any points by the town manager?
No, sir, none at this time.
Move to item 13, new business. Item 1, there's nothing. Item 2, loan review committee. Do we have a nomination on the floor?
I will nominate Paul Coffey.
Second.
Seconded by, nomination by Counselor Arnone, seconded by Counselor Denny. Do we have any other nominations?
Move nominations to be closed.
Counselor Falk, seconded by Deputy Mayor Suzak. All those in favor by show of hands. Those opposed? We have 11 in favor, 0 against. Any discussion on the main motion? This is just as a reappointment for Mr. Coffey, to clarify. Hearing none, roll call, please.
Counselor Crisati.
4.
Counselor Davis.
4.
Counselor Denny.
4.
Counselor Falk.
4.
Mayor Ludwig.
4.
Counselor Muller.
4.
Deputy Mayor Suzak.
4.
Counselor Ungary.
4.
Counselor Arnone.
4.
Counselor Bosco.
4.
Counselor Sakala.
4.
It's 11 in favor, none against, and no abstentions.
Item 3 remains on the, no discussion on item 3. Item 4, Library Board of Trustees. Do we have a nomination?
I'd like to nominate Georgiana Tippo.
Second.
Nomination by Counselor Arnone, second by Counselor Sakala. Do I have a nomination to close, a motion to close nominations?
So moved.
Counselor Falk, seconded by Counselor Muller. All those in favor by show of hands, say it. All those opposed? 11 in favor, 0 against. Any discussion on the main motion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Counselor Crisati.
4.
Counselor Davis.
4.
Counselor Denny.
4.
Counselor Falk.
4.
Mayor Ludwig.
4.
Counselor Muller.
4.
Deputy Mayor Suzak.
4.
Counselor Ungary.
4.
Counselor Arnone.
4.
Counselor Bosco.
4.
Counselor Sakala.
Georgiana Tippo.
There's 11 in favor, none against, and no abstentions.
Item 5 stays on the table. Item 6, do we have a motion?
Motion to remove item from the table and that's a position.
It's a reappointment.
It's a reappointment, but it's a full seat.
Second.
Motion by, we don't have to make a motion to remove, we just have to make a nomination, right? Just make a nomination.
That's right, sorry. I'd like to nominate Maurice LaRosa.
By Deputy Mayor Suzak. Seconded by Counselor Falk. We have a motion to close nominations.
So moved.
By Counselor Falk, seconded by Counselor Muller. All those in favor by show of hands. All those opposed. Any discussion on the main motion? Counselor Sakala?
I actually do have a clarification, not a soapbox on this one. It does say that in his application he wants to continue on as chairman. I just want to make sure, that we're not nominating somebody for a chairman position, that it is just a position on the board.
Just reappointment, correct?
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Any other further questions? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Counselor Crisati.
Against.
Counselor Davis.
Against.
Counselor Denny.
Against.
Counselor Fall.
For.
Mayor Ludwig.
4.
Counselor Muller.
4.
Counselor Suzak.
4.
Counselor Ungary.
4.
Counselor Arnone.
Against.
Counselor Bosco.
4.
Counselor Sakala.
Against.
There is 6 in favor, 5 against, and no abstentions.
Do we have a nomination for number 7, Zoning Board of Appeals?
Yes, I would. You got it?
Yep. I'd like to nominate Andrew Obanowitz, and that's for a full seat, not alternate.
Motion made by Deputy Mayor Suzak, seconded by Counselor Arnone. Sure. Motion to close nominations?
So moved.
By Counselor Falk, seconded by Counselor Ungary. All those in favor by a show of hands? All those against? 11-0. Any discussion on a nomination? Hearing none, roll call. Oh,
I get discussion.
yep.
I've been watching this going back and forth, and nobody's qualified to do anything, even though most of our inland wetlands are introductory into the thing. I mean, you probably look at most of the people on inland wetlands, and that's really something you need to learn. A lot of the people here with no that sat in these seats all started on inland wetlands. So it's a board that you really get your training as you're going. But no one could ever tell me there's people not qualified as Mo and Andrew. To say no on Mo is just showing that you guys are being obstinate.
Can I have a point of order? Point of order, please. Point of order. We're not discussing this right now. We're discussing.
I'm going. That's where I'm going there.
Point of order.
I'll back my statement up on Mo, okay? But Andrew is more than qualified. He's an attorney, and he really does fit this position. So a no vote to him, really, guys, that'd be a shame. But that. So, with that being said, I'm ready to vote.
Roll call, please.
Counselor Crisati.
4.
Counselor Davis.
4.
Counselor Denny.
4.
Counselor Fall.
4.
Mayor Ludwig.
4.
Counselor Muller.
4.
Deputy Mayor Suzak.
4.
Counselor Ungary.
4.
Counselor Arnone.
4.
Counselor Bosco.
4.
Counselor Sakala.
Andrew Obanowitz.
There is 11 in favor, none against, and no abstentions.
Nothing for C and D. We move to item E. Does that need to go, E needs to stay on the table, correct? Item F, I have a resolution. Resolution to approve the settlement of litigation captioned Oshasky et al. Versus Town of Enfield et al. Document number 3, was that dash 15? Could I say dash or 3-15-CV-00067 in parentheses MPS. Be it resolved that the Enfield Town Council hereby provides its consent to the town's insurer, Kerma, to settle the matter of Olszewski et al. Versus Town of Enfield et al. Number 3-15-CV-00067 parentheses MPS in an amount of $140,000 pursuant to the discussion with the town's legal counsel in executive session on December 18th, 2017, prepared by the town attorney's office. Do I have a motion? Motion by Deputy Mayor Suzak, seconded by Councilor Falk. Any discussion on the motion?
I believe it's costing the town $25,000, even though the settlement is $140,000.
That's correct. Yep.
Thank you.
Here, Deputy Mayor Suzak?
Also, the amount is being enumerated out. This is the last of the cases.
Here, no further discussion? Roll call, please.
Counselor Crisati.
4.
Counselor Davis.
Against.
Counselor Denny.
Against.
Counselor Falk.
4.
Mayor Ludwig.
4.
Counselor Muller.
4.
Deputy Mayor Suzak.
4.
Counselor Ungary.
4.
Counselor Arnone.
4.
Counselor Bosco.
4.
And Counselor Sakala.
4.
It's 9 in favor, 2 against, and no
So before we move on, just like Town Attorney would like just to clarify something on this motion. Go ahead.
Yes, I'd just like to clarify for the public, this is the last in a series of about 10 cases. There were about 12 claims, but 10 cases brought against the Enfield Police Department over a period of 2 years after an initial case was brought and then several others came forth later. On advice of counsel, our legal counsel from the insurance company that was appointed by KERMA, our insurer, the town council had made all previous settlements confidential. That was based on their advice because they believed it would be much more difficult to settle and or try cases if the amounts were in the public realm. So the town council respected that until this evening. This is the last case. So the amount of the settlement has been made public. It was $140,000. Councilman Falk is correct. The town deductible was $25,000, as it was in the other and previous cases. I will also state the council was reticent. We won't get into all of the details, but as in many of the other cases, they were settled as a business decision made by KERMA and on advice of your council, although council members had some difficulty doing that. To show in the last case, there was some real questions by the council about making this final settlement. It was continued until tonight. In the interim, we received, and we'll make this part of the record and available to the public, we received a letter on December 13th of 2017 from our insurance carrier to the town stating that if you did not settle this case in their recommended amount of $140,000, several things would happen. And there is a consent clause under the police liability policy. You must consent. However, the consent can't be withheld if the insurance carrier determines they want to settle it and it's reasonable to do so. If we were not to have settled this evening, what the town would have exposed pursuant to the letter is they would have withdrawn, and this is set for trial coming up next month, they would have withdrawn the attorneys that they hired for the town. We would have to go out and retain at the town's expense new attorneys to try the case. Number 2, if the case after trial exceeded the $140,000 which they were willing to pay, say for instance the verdict were $300,000 or $400,000, the town would be responsible for any amount over $140,000 together with all the attorney's fees and also attorney's fees for the plaintiff. So the exposure, and that's why they call this the hammer clause. I think it's really the sledgehammer clause, that the town really, especially in these austere circumstances, these very difficult budget times, council had to make a decision which was a difficult one. They want to support the police department, still contest perhaps the underlying charge that was made against them, but in reality, in the face of a letter like this, it would be very difficult for the town not to settle and expose the taxpayers to hundreds of thousands of dollars if the case didn't go our way. Further, there were several cases that were appealed by the press and the ACLU in regard to the previous non-disclosure of the settlements. I've gone down to the FOI. We argued those. Hearing officers ordered us to disclose the attorney's fees and other information. We appealed in court. That case is pending. As of this evening, I hand-delivered to the attorney for KERMA a request that we would be complying with the Freedom of Information officer's order to me to request from our insurance carrier the releases and the amounts of the other settlements and also other information that they requested. I have done so. Tomorrow, I will communicate that to the parties, the ACLU, the Journal-Inquirer, the court, and FOI, that we are in compliance. We will then wait to see what we receive because I was only ordered to request that which we did not have in our possession. Now that the cases are over, I made that representation at FOI. The only reason we weren't giving this information out was based on counsel's legal advice to counsel that it would jeopardize the settlement of other claims. Now that that impediment is gone, we are true to our word. We will now release the information once we receive it. I will review it with counsel as soon as we get it, and then we will be in a position to release it to those entities that we were ordered to release it to from the Freedom of Information. But I thought it important to know that this was not a single standalone case. It was done in conjunction over the last 2 years with a group of 10, of which this is the last one. And we will go back to our policy of transparency that when we settle a case, we include the amount. Thank you.
Thank you. Item 14, items for, actually, now we move to the consent agenda. So we have a motion, was made earlier, move the items E, G, I, J, and K, M to the consent agenda. To have a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
So moved by Counselor Arnone, seconded by Deputy Mayor Suzak. Any discussion on the consent agenda? Hearing none, roll call, please. Oh, we can do by a show of hands? Sorry, all those in favor of the consent agenda? Those opposed? We have 11 in favor, 0 against. First item under miscellaneous, which is the discussion resolution to transfer funds from Family Resource Center, $500. Sorry, let me get there.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor, as a point of order, that was the action of consent. You're actually on to item E, which is the resolution to amend the code, chapter 14.
But on the new agenda, it's on top. No, it's on top. It's A1.
We moved it to miscellaneous.
Huh?
I'm as confused as Brian.
Oh,
We took it off.
they took it off and they moved it to
And
miscellaneous.
we moved it to miscellaneous.
My apologies.
I'm getting good at this stuff. All right.
It's so confusing to
Yeah.
me. I don't know how to do that.
Resolution in accordance with resolution resolved that in accordance with chapter, I'm going to say that's 6, section 8F of the town charter, the following transfer is hereby made. That's section 6, right, Suzanne? 6? Yep. To Family Resource Center, other supplies, materials, 220-40470-561900 of $500 from Family Resource Center, miscellaneous contributions, donations, 220-44470-417050 of $500 certified that the above funds are available by Jonathan Wilcox, Director of Finance, 12/8/2017.
So moved.
Moved by Counselor Arnone.
Second.
Seconded by Counselor Crissati. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
4.
4.
Counselor Denny.
4.
Counselor Falk.
4.
Mayor Ludwig.
4.
Counselor Muller.
4.
Deputy Mayor Suzak.
4.
Counselor Ungary.
4.
Counselor Arnone.
4.
Counselor Bosco.
4.
Counselor Sakala.
4.
There's 11 in favor, none against, and no abstentions.
Item F, the resolution to approve tentative agreement between the town of Enfield and the police union. Resolution to approve a tentative agreement between the town of Enfield and the police union agreeing to modify the normal retirement age to age 55 for vested police officers with a deferred retirement benefit. Resolved that the Enfield Town Council does hereby approve to modify the police pension plan to modify the normal retirement age to age 55 for vested police officers eligible for deferred retirement benefit, prepared December 7th by Steve Belinda.
So moved.
By Counselor Arnone.
Second.
Seconded by Counselor Falk. Any discussion on the motion? Counselor Denny.
Discussion on the motion, yeah. Question I have on this is that it's 55 years old now, and it also pertains to those officers who we employed from other towns that'll do 10 years and still be eligible.
I believe that to be the case, but Mr. Belinda can comment with more specificity than I can.
Okay.
Good evening, everyone. Can you repeat the question?
Two questions.
Okay.
Two questions. One, it's a 55-year-old situation now with this new agreement. And the second question was, any officers who were employed here from other towns that put their 10 years in, they'll be able to collect if they have their 10 years in and they're reached at least 55 years old?
Well, yes, once the council votes on the pension plan, because this will alter the pension plan, the actuaries, the Prudential is the company that administrates the pension plan, they will apply that plan going forward.
Okay.
So there may be a handful of people, maybe even less than a handful, that would be eligible for this instead of waiting to 65, which is what the current language is, which was erroneously put there. It's now going to be 55. Okay. And that's what the friction was with the union, because they were arguing it should have been 50 based on past practice.
Yes.
But we
But it's
came to a
50
settlement.
It's 55 now.
Correct.
And so that applies to everyone.
I would say so.
Okay. All right.
Councilor No?
So could you, background too, this is up from what it was before. It's actually in the town's favor.
Correct. It's an unresolved issue this predates me. I've been here 8 years in February, and this is something I inherited from my predecessor, but it's been a lingering issue between the town and the police union, and we're going to get it resolved once and for all.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please. Thanks, Steve.
Counselor Crisati.
4.
Counselor Davis.
4.
Counselor Denny.
4.
Counselor Fall.
4.
Mayor Ludwig.
4.
Counselor Muller.
4.
Deputy Mayor Suzak.
4.
Counselor Ungary.
4.
Counselor Arnone.
4.
Counselor Bosco.
4.
Counselor Sakala.
4.
It's 11 in favor, none against, and no abstentions.
Item H, resolution authorizing the town manager to convey town-owned land. Whereas the town of Enfield owns 2 parcels of land identified as Lot 2 and Lot 7 on Assessor's Map 25. The parcels are located at the southwest corner of the intersection of Enfield Street and North Main. And whereas, accordance with the Connecticut General Statute 7-163E, the town of Enfield held a public hearing on December 18, 2017. And whereas, as its December 7, 2017 meeting pursuant to Connecticut General Statute 8-24, the Enfield Planning and Zoning Commission made a positive recommendation to the town council regarding the proposed conveyance of property, and now therefore be it resolved that the Enfield Town Council authorize the town manager to execute any documents necessary to effectuate the conveyance of the property subject to the review and approval by the town attorney, prepared by the town manager's office, September 8, 2017.
So moved.
Motion by Councilor Falk, second by Councilor Arnone. Any discussion? Councilor Arnone.
Yeah, through the mayor to Brian, could you have Mike come up and answer some of the questions that were brought to us on this tonight, if he could? We had, during public speaking, we had quite a few questions
With
put
respect
forth.
to
The
future
property,
use and
future use,
accessibility.
yeah, anything he
Sure.
could add to that tonight? I know he's pretty up
Sure.
on this piece of property. If he could just.
Mike, if you would,
Mike?
please.
Yes, good evening. Commissioner Arnone, do you have a specific question or
There were
just?
several questions. I know you were here when they were being
Right.
posed. So some of it are right down from the bike path, how useful this property has been. I know it's switched back and forth at some time, but, most of the questions on what it's going to do to, in my opinion too, that it is the walk into Thompsonville, and right now it's not a good thing to see. So I'm looking to improve that. So help me on my decision here.
Okay. The decision to acquire the adjacent properties is needed to meet the bulk requirements of our current zoning ordinance, which is something that we're trying to amend right now as part of our TOD study, which is looking at both economic development and modifications to our land use and land development regulations. So hopefully, at our recent meeting, Commissioner Suzak had mentioned it would be better if we had changed the rules rather than having to make modifications to the actual property lines. But under the current circumstances, this would be required to be able to maximize the development potential of the site. The agreement would ensure that maintenance of the current sidewalk and access would be guaranteed by the owner. So in the form of a maintenance and an access easement, those would be conferred to the town by the owner. On the issue of access to sort of a parallel walkway on the Enfield Street side of Freshwater Brook, that's a very good point. And I think that could be added, sort of an easement could be, and I would recommend should be added to the agreement that would provide for future access so that you can have a parallel network for pedestrians. I think in discussions, the piece of land that would be purchased, that there are 2 pieces of land. One is running parallel to North Main Street, and then the other parcel, I believe, was acquired by the town. In fact, as part of the floodplain, there's a floodplain in there. There's an area of flood zone, and it's generally unusable. But those also make really great locations for pedestrian greenways. So it wouldn't be inconsistent, and it can't be used for anything else. So in reality, having an easement for that access would be an excellent idea. I wish we had a similar agreement with the other property owners along that corridor, which we don't currently have. Frankly, I'd like to see one all the way to the Anfield Square site so that we could do an off-road greenway from Thompsonville to the square, but that's a different issue.
So you feel that is a good idea to get that right away in, and that's probably a good possibility to, or is that a?
I think that would be my recommendation. I think it's a good idea. I think it's consistent with the plan of conservation and development, which is something important, and we should be following it.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Councilor Falk.
I was going to ask a similar question. We have a sign out there, like a community sign, 4x8 sheet of plywood. Yeah. And I assume that would remain as it is today, and it wouldn't be ripped down, and it'd still be under the control of the town? Is that a correct assumption?
If the land were to convey to a new property owner, we would have to have that agreement written. It have to be included if that were to happen.
I would hope that you would.
Yeah.
And the second one was, the wetlands along the brook.
Sure.
If, in fact, at some point we wanted to put a bike path or a walking path through there, I would hope that wording would be in the agreement also allowing us to do it.
That would be the access easement that we could allow. That's exactly right. And you can do those on private property. In fact, it would be a good idea to do that, I think, beyond this area, frankly.
I just wanted to be sure we were covered on that, because the Conservation Commission made some good points.
Yes.
We need to follow up on that.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Suzak, then Councilor Denny.
Again, I won't support this because I really feel that, I don't know, we got the horse in the cart sometimes in Enfield, but I really feel it's a developed piece of property, that we have other avenues that we can, I guess, have variances to pieces of property. And I just so wish that we would look at them that way, because these zoning laws and rules for Thompsonville so have to change. Yeah. We're so confined by trying to look at property that was developed decades ago. Sure. And try to put it in the constraints of what we would develop undeveloped property at. And we need to really get out of our own way and kind of do things in a more clear fashion. I really am opposed to property owners owning the property up to the edge of the road. It just, the pictures we just got over the weekend of all the plows that plowed up everybody's irrigation system. It's we're just, for me, asking for trouble. So I may be the lone dissenting vote, but I really wish that when we look at these properties in Thompsonville, until we can get that zoning done and get it in place, and I hate to say anything, but it's not a bad thing if we come to our commissions and we say, we have to do this because it needs to be a profitable business. It's not a sin to be a profitable business. That's all I have to say.
Councilor Denny.
Yes, we've been looking at this piece of property for how long? This Broyhill building is a disaster. We finally fixed the corner across the street and where CVS is and whatever, and now we have an opportunity to get this. The landowner has agreed to all the stipulations that are required of him. I believe in the past, we took some of that property away from him initially for the brook, and now he's conveying to get it back. I don't see the problem. Here we are wanting to redevelop Thompsonville, and yet we're still holding the purse strings. Thank you.
Councilor Bosco.
Yeah, I will be supporting this. I think that we can't hold the the property owner of Broyhill hostage until our planning and zoning department gets off their case and does their job. I mean, there's just another one I watched that was just terrible, where We had a property that met a zoning requirement at one time, was legal at one time. Because the zoning regulations were changed from the time that property was developed till now, they want to do a change on it, and it has to go through the whole process again. And they're going to make the guy lose valuable property and parking space because they can. So we cannot leave this development up to the planning and zoning on this corner, because the building does look not very good. It is the representation of our whole gateway. They did a beautiful fire department. We got the town hall, and it's all looking really nice. And we can't wait for the planning and zoning department to get off their back ends to do what's right to make property owners in the town of Enfield whole, and businesses able to survive and prosper and at least keep what they have that they obtained legally. So I think that this can be, the town's interest can be done with easements. So we just easement as much as we can. And, you know, the best part about an easement is you own a piece of land, but someone else pays taxes for it. So I think that's the way to go, put an easement so we get what we need. The property owner gets the relief he needs, and let's circumvent something that's broken. Thank you.
Any further discussion?
Sure.
Councilor Falk?
I would echo the comments about the building. It's been there for a long time. It's unoccupied and kind of an eyesore. And when you look across the street at the bank and St. Francis and CVS, this would be one more small piece to the big puzzle to improve this area, especially the gateway into Thompsonville. So I would be in favor of it.
Yes, sir.
I just wanted to clarify something about the process. And Commissioner Bosco, I share your concern with how the process is and the rules and the regulations. It's one of the things that attracted me to come back here, because I think that there's room to fix that. But it is a slow process, and I will say that I'm happy that the Planning and Zoning Division and the community, the Department of Development Services, we are working towards that cooperatively. And the TOD study in particular is coming up with some pretty solid recommendations for changes to the regulations that will help us to resolve a lot of these issues. Taking a suburban zoning and land use and land development code and putting it over a traditional town center is part of our problem. But we're working on fixing it, and we've got solid people working on it in terms in the efficiency of a consultant that we're working with, and with the supporting documentation from an economic and real estate market analysis that's going to support that decision, those decisions to change that ordinance. So we are working towards it. You're welcome.
Any other questions for Mike? Thank you, sir.
Thanks. You're welcome.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Councilor Crissati.
4.
Councilor Davis.
4.
Councilor Denny.
4.
Councilor Falk.
4.
Mayor Ludwig.
4.
Councilor Muller.
4.
Deputy Mayor Suzak.
Against.
Councilor Ungary.
4.
Councilor Arnone.
4.
Councilor Bosco.
4.
Councilor Sakala.
4.
There's 10 in favor, 1 against, and no abstentions.
Item L, a resolution setting a public hearing, tax assessment agreement for 215 Moody Road. Resolved that the Enfield Town Council will hold a public hearing in the Enfield Town Hall Council Chambers, 820 Enfield Street, Enfield, Connecticut, on Tuesday, January 2nd, 2018, at 6:50 to receive public comment on the proposed tax assessment agreement with Preferred Display, Inc. and VCRV, LLC for the property located at 215 Moody Road, prepared December 7, 2017 by the Town Manager's Office. Councilor Arnone? Second by Councilor Sakala. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Councilor Crissati.
4.
Councilor Davis.
4.
Councilor Denny.
4.
Councilor Falk.
4.
Mayor Ludwig.
4.
Councilor Muller.
4.
Deputy Mayor Suzak.
4.
Councilor Ungary.
4.
Councilor Arnone.
4.
Councilor Bosco.
4.
Councilor Sakala.
4.
There's 11 in favor, none against, and no abstentions.
Item N, discussion resolution regarding adopting the policy and procedure for the Enfield Town Council meetings. Be it resolved that the Enfield Town Council does hereby adopt the policy and procedure for Enfield Town Council meetings dated December 18th, 2017. Date prepared December 11th, 2017 by the Town Manager's Office.
So moved.
By Councilor Falk. Seconded by Councilor Crisati. Discussion. Councilor Arnone.
So on number 26, with the emergency powers? Emergency procedure. Well, feels like a power to me on that one. So that is,
Would have been nice in the.
yeah, that we'd like to get a little clarification on that. We kind of feel that it's a little vague for that kind of emergency procedure for even a natural or unnatural disaster. If we can't get 6 counselors together, the town manager and the town council can't assemble. For emergency purposes only, and the town attorney opinion, did we get that?
I should have.
Your opinion on that, did we get that?
It should have been attached. Tom, that should have been attachment A that's been sent a number of times. I don't know if it's attached to this. No.
So it's just, it's the amount of, so it's kind of vague, and it's the town councilors can assemble, the ones that can assemble will act for the council. Again, I think that's a little vague. And if you can't get 6 counselors together, even with police escort, or would have to be one, I don't think anybody's going to get there if it's going to be a disaster like that. So we're just a little uncomfortable with those words, that it gives a lot of power to maybe 1 or 2 counselors in the event of a natural or unnatural disaster. We've had October storm, which was a pretty good natural disaster, and we did okay. So I just again, I think our caucus, and I don't want to speak for everybody here, but we thought that was a little vague, could use a little bit of, I don't see the need for it. I think 6 counselors could be found, even in today's, maybe if we did electronic, or we did some, if they could be reached by phone, cell phone. I know all those things can go out in a disaster.
Yeah, remember the October, we lost all that.
Yeah, we lost it all,
Okay.
exactly.
Deputy,
comment?
sorry.
Okay.
Suzak.
Yep.
All right, this has been out for a while. You're on the committee. I wish it came sooner so we could expand upon it.
Yep.
I mean, when you wait almost 2 years to get it to the table, what this is this council cannot do anything unless there's 6. We need to have some sort of emergency powers, whether they're never used or not, but that there has to be something. We are a business. Something has to happen in lieu of, not having 6. Do we need to work on it and maybe expand it and get more clarification? We don't have electronic communication here. It's not in our procedures.
Right.
There's a lot of stuff that's not there that's in other places. I guess for me, it's like, I hate to give a really horrible example, but if 6 town councilors resign, you're done. We're done as a board. We're done as a board. It's we have to have something. The Board of Ed has something. So I think I'll take that it needs to be worked on, but the committee members need to work on it. This is something that's been out there for quite a while.
Yeah, it has. No,
So, and I did ask for attachment A to come, but it did not come. So we do need to review, what Chris has said in that attachment. We probably need to work on this for the first January meeting. But if you need to have electronics put in there as a way to form a quorum of 6, then we need to do that. But for me, I feel that it's a duty that we have to have something that we would do in an emergency.
Yeah, that's all I ask. Thank you.
Did you have any recommendations that you wanted to?
No, not at this time, but now I'm reading the attachment. So.
Okay.
Oh, we did get the attachment.
Yes, it is there. I do
Okay.
see it.
Any questions?
It's actually from Lee.
Oh, there, yes, it is there.
That's what threw me, Lee.
So, this is a question on the emergency. Again, we may never use it, but what happens if the town manager can't show up? So,
This is the town council's policies and procedures.
right, so it wouldn't matter if the manager could not be there.
I mean, you would have the ability to conduct whatever business you need. I am simply the instrument to
Okay.
carry out
Yep.
whatever
We can
direction you
point.
provide,
Six.
so.
Right.
If we have
Right.
6, we can
Okay,
appoint.
yep. Counselor Noon.
Well, I'll wait till discussion starts. Any more discussion?
Anyone have any other questions? Counselor Dan.
Question, can we look at this and be tabled?
Yeah, so,
Yeah,
go
that's
ahead.
what
Sorry, before Counselor Noon.
Actually, this is like,
Yeah, you could do
the
three
first, this is the first time it's even gotten this far to
Right,
the council
right.
to actually review. We appreciate, comments back so that we can incorporate, just, this finally got read by the town attorney, by the town manager, and they offered some of the comments that you see in green, which are, the readings that Mike does. And that was helpful in clarifying what we do. But if we want to add electronic, we need to know that.
So, the point of this was to give folks a chance to comment, take it back.
Right.
And,
Maybe actually
yeah.
read them.
And then if we're ready, the next meeting, if not, the meeting after.
Yeah, but at least we'll move it forward.
Yes, this is much better than it ever was.
Any further discussion? If not, we move to, do we have to make a motion to table, or we just leave it on the table? Okay, make a motion to table, please.
So moved.
By Counselor Falk, seconded by Counselor Bosco. All those in favor by a show of hands? 11-0, it passes. Item O. Sorry, let me get there. Yeah, I gotta find it here. All right. We have a resolution to adopt Assistant Collector of Revenue job description. Resolution to adopt the Assistant Collector of Revenue job description in the Finance Department. Resolved that the Enfield Town Council does hereby approve the Assistant Collector of Revenue job description, date prepared December 14, 2017, by the Department of Human Resources.
So moved.
By Counselor Falk.
Second.
Seconded by Counselor Arnone. Any discussion on the resolution? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Counselor Crisati.
4.
Counselor Davis.
4.
Counselor Denny.
4.
Counselor Falk.
4.
Mayor Ludwig.
4.
Counselor Muller.
4.
Deputy Mayor Suzak.
4.
Counselor Ungary.
4.
Counselor Arnone.
4.
Counselor Bosco. 4. Counselor Sakala.
4.
So 11 in favor, none against, and no abstentions.
So, item 16, public communications. Do we have anyone who'd like to speak for the public? Ms. Kelty?
Judy Kilty, 83 Abbey Road. New council, new openness, new majority. Same majority, same old stuff. A couple years ago, I served on the Charter Revision Committee. I'm a Democrat. One of your members asked me to change my party affiliation so that I could be acceptable, and I did. But I didn't reply immediately. She called me the night before the applications were due. Please, because you know that I agree with you, so please change your party affiliation so that you can be seated and I can vote for you. Well, just an FYI, I'm sure it's not usually done this way. Before sunsets tomorrow, I will have finished my application for the Commission on Aging, one of the 2 vacant seats. I would defy anyone at this table to tell me that I am not qualified, because I am. And it would be extremely questionable if I am not approved. Just an FYI.
Anyone else like to speak from the public? I'd like to speak for the council.
Walter Cruzel, 21 Charlie Road, owner of Peerless Tool, 5 Peerless Way, also chairman of the Board of Education. All I want to say, I want to wish you from my board to your council a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Thank you. Thank you, Walter.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Merry Christmas. Hope everyone's well. First off, I have some great news. I'm Mary Ann Turner from Seven Meadow Road. I'm here as a taxpayer, a resident, and a wife. And just some great stuff. I sit on the health board. And just so when you were talking earlier about the changes you want to do in Thompsonville, the health district is in the process of going through a possible renovate to new to the building, which would make some beautiful facade changes and so the parking lot issues and internal stuff. So please know that you're going to get one more opportunity to have that wonderful, beautiful gateway. You'll be hearing more about it. It's not going to happen overnight. It's a process. We have some great people on the board who have some really great talent. So I just wanted to share with you that it's coming down the pike. The other thing is I also sit on the Zoning Board of Appeals as a secretary, and tonight we had our meeting, and because you were busy doing this, you didn't get to hear, but the Water Pollution Control Facility will be moving forward with their building that they need to add. So we're very excited to let you know that we did a great job, and Mo, our chairman, is very, very good. And I'm glad to see that he and Andrew will be back. I'm here on another issue. I have been repeatedly reminded about what happened a little over a year ago from one of our now sitting councilmen about taping people without their knowledge. It was a sad day. Many months after the event, this person acknowledged at this very dais that taping a conversation of members of the last council, that in their mind it was okay. That it was also considered reasonable. And in the end, it was used to intimidate, hurt people who volunteer their time and energy for the good of Enfield. I don't think that people should be told to let things go. It must be acted on. And if they still see an issue, and if things are still bothering them, then our town, our country, is built on honor, devotion, forthrightness, and actions and the American way. And we know that we must take ownership of our actions and address these issues, keeping in mind that integrity of any office, board, or commission should keep that to their heart and not just let it go because someone told them to let it go. That is why someone stood up, another councilman, who was extremely dismayed and distraught that evening by this blatant display of dishonorable behavior, and because it hit home with them. I, for one, know it affected me. When this incident happened, many of us learned a very valuable lesson, that in Connecticut, it's okay to tape people as long as they're in the room and you're with them. It doesn't matter if you tell them they're being taped. It's just state of Connecticut says it's okay. Did it breed distrust? Possibly. Does it show disrespect? Probably. And does it make people feel uncomfortable and violated? Most certainly it does. I am told this act is allowed. Okay, you're right. But I also note that our residents, our taxpayers, our moms and dads do have the right to feel not uncompromised and not feel that things should bother them. They should come and talk to you about it. With that being said, and what has happened this past year and the stuff that we have to deal with, I believe that a policy should be considered by this board, since some of you are working on policies, and that we might consider it for the future. We need to take a stand because we have zero tolerance. for this unsettling behavior and hold everyone to a high bar of decency and honesty. When us, the residents, feel we're being compromised, when someone took my feeling of safety away, I asked the council to consider writing a policy on the very issue and make it part of the guidelines to be part of the great town of you elected officials. Don't ever forget, you got involved for a reason. Keep your integrity. Don't ever feel bullied. But put it down, or put down by anyone, because you work long hours and you do a thankless job. But I know you all try to do it with the utmost integrity. So I'd just like you to consider it. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, have a nice Christmas.
Anyone else like to speak for the council?
Marcy Talicio, 23 Coolidge. This is so ridiculous. This is high school. We're talking about managing a town with people, children, taxpayers, parents. This is the example we're setting for our community. I had nothing prepared tonight, but just watching this is disgusting. You should be embarrassed, really. This is petty.
Gina Sullivan, 11 Spear. Sorry, Gina Sullivan, 11 Spear. I came here tonight, spoke what I wanted to say, with no personality, with a lot of passion, because I speak passionately about that subject. I apologize for my actions just now, but you allowed her to sit here with full personality, and you didn't say a word. That's hypocritical. I know she's your leader, but come on, what's fair is fair. She sits and heckles the audience and people speaking up here, and that's why I did it back to her. And yes, this really is high school, and you all should be ashamed because that is your leader. I'm so sorry. Thank you.
Anyone else like to speak for the council? Item 9, closing public hearings. Item 17, council communications. Councilor Denny.
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, and have a great holidays. Thank you.
Councilor Ungary.
Just wanted to wish everyone a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy New Year. Stay safe and enjoy your time with your family and friends and loved ones.
Councilor Sakala.
Just a point of order, she's not my leader. And Merry Christmas to everybody.
Merry Christmas.
Councilor Davis.
First off, I'd like to thank Mary Ann Turner for coming and speaking her mind. She is a resident and also a taxpayer. So thank you, Mary Ann Turner, for coming and speaking your mind, and hopefully we incorporate a policy. It's all about listening to the residents. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year's.
Love you, Liz.
Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Councilor Falk, seconded by Councilor Denny. All those in favor? Aye. Ayes have it.